You sat on the carpet, thumbs on a joystick, and the television stopped being furniture. It became a machine that talked back. Before that, quarters ruled the arcade. Then Atari dragged the arcade into the living room and made kids argue over whose turn it was. Cartridges stacked like vinyl. Box art promised galaxies. Half of them delivered a rectangle and a beep. For a stretch, Atari was video games the way Kleenex was tissue. Then the company that taught America to play on a TV lost the room. The easy story blames Nintendo. Fair enough. Mario showed up with quality control and a seal. But that is the ending, not the mechanism. The filings and the folklore both point somewhere Messier. Atari flooded the market with junk, then drowned in its own inventory. I want to walk you through how a company that owned living rooms ended up burying product in the desert, and what that says about platforms. Rewind to 1972. Nolan, Bushnell, and Ted Dabney spin up Atari in the early Silicon Valley scramble. Engineers chasing coin-out money. Pong arrives like a dare. 2 paddles, 1 ball, 0 explanation. People lined up because the rules fit on a napkin. Bars and arcades learned a new math. A machine that eats quarters and never gets tired. Atari learned to ship hit after hit into that hunger. 1976, Warner Communications buys Atari. Suddenly, the startup has a media conglomerate's balance sheet behind it. 1977, the Atari Video Computer System, later the 2600, lands in living rooms with that wood-grain look and a promise of endless games. Parents bought a box. Kids bought a habit. The console was not just hardware. It was a subscription to whatever Atari stamped onto a cartridge. Arcade hits like Space Invaders proved the category was culture, not a fad. Atari's job was to bottle that fever for the couch. By the early 80s, the 2600 is a holiday weapon. Stores can't keep consoles stocked. Atari looks like it invented a new American ritual. Think of it like owning the only good radio station in town. If you control the hits, you control the living room. This chart is the vibe, not a SEC filing. Heat climbing into 82. The industry felt unstoppable because the living room kept saying yes. Licensed ports became oxygen. Pac-Man on the 2600 was supposed to be a cash machine. Instead, it became a warning label. Players expected the arcade. They got a pale cousin. When your brand is trust, a bad port is not a miss. It is a broken promise. Then the floodgates. Third parties poured cartridges onto shelves because Atari's platform was open enough to invite chaos. Shelves filled with mediocre titles. Parents bought on box art. Kids learned the hard way that packaging was the real game. Inside Warner's Atari, growth culture met Hollywood-scale ambition. Ship more. Forecast bigger. Treat demand like a permanent weather pattern. Believe it or not, the peak years planted the crash. The same muscle that scaled hits also scaled inventory and hype beyond what quality could carry. 1982, Atari rushes an ET game for the holidays. Hollywood IP plus a hard deadline. What'd go wrong? The development window was absurdly short. The finished game became a meme before memes had a name. Confusing, unfinished, unloved. Millions of cartridges. Returns. Write-downs. A product so unwanted that the company lore ends in a hole in New Mexico. As the story goes, Atari buried truckloads of inventory in Alamogordo. Whether every detail is perfect matters less than the signal. This was product death at industrial scale. 1983, the North American video game crash. Consoles discounted. Retailers swear off the category. Trust evaporates. Same heat chart, now with a cliff. 83 is not a soft landing. It is a market deciding the living room experiment was a scam. Warner takes huge hits tied to Atari. The Golden Division turns into a balance sheet emergency with wood-grain controllers. Rivals were already crowding the shelf. Coleco, in television, a parade of also-rans. Competition mattered. Glut and quality mattered more. Here is the mechanism in plain English. When anyone can ship trash onto your platform, your brand becomes the landfill's logo. 1984, Warner sells Atari's consumer business to Jack Tramiel, the hard-nosed Commodore founder. A fire sale with a legend attached. Tramiel's Atari pivots hard into computers, the Atari ST line, chasing the home computing wave, not just joysticks. The ST found a real niche, especially with musicians and MIDI. That is not nothing. It is also not owning the living room the way the 2600 did. Meanwhile, Commodore's Amiga and the PC world keep squeezing. Atari is fighting on new terrain with less cultural monopoly. Then Nintendo reboots American console gaming with lockdown quality and a seal of approval. The opposite of Atari's open flood. Nintendo's genius was not only Mario. It was saying no. Atari had said yes so often that shelf became a junk drawer. In the 90s, Atari swings again with the Jaguar, marketed like a 64-bit miracle. The library and the marketing never quite matched. A strange turn of events. The company that defined home gaming keeps launching hardware into a market that already moved on emotionally. Without a deep hit library, a console is a paperweight. Jaguar struggled to become a habit. Habits are what platforms sell. Sony, Sega, Nintendo. The mid-90s living room was a knife fight. Atari showed up late to a war it used to referee. What follows is the familiar late-stage pattern. Exits, restructuring, brand sales, and a logo that outlives the original machine. The name stays valuable as nostalgia IP. The operating company that once printed money on cartridges does not get the same encore. One more chart for the spine of the story. Peak power, crash, partial computer life, then console twilight. The brand keeps walking. The throne does not. By the time the hardware dream cools, Atari is something retailers remember as a caution sticker. This category can vanish overnight. So what actually killed the Atari that mattered? Not one alien buried in sand. A platform that lost control of quality while scaling like a monopoly. They optimized for volume and holiday forecasts. Customers optimized for not being fooled twice. Those two strategies cannot share a shelf forever. Arcade Atari sold delight. Late 2600 Atari often sold disappointment wrapped in licensed artwork. Same logo, different contract with the player. Nintendo walked through the wreckage and built the opposite model. Scarce approval, curated shelves, trust as a feature. The market rewarded the contrast. Warner wanted conglomerate growth. The crash delivered conglomerate pain, getting back to what actually killed them. They treated a trust business like a widget business. Landfill is the perfect metaphor because it is inventory admitting defeat. You do not bury a hit. You bury a misread of demand. Today, Atari survives as a brand that sells memory, mini consoles, reissues the Fuji logo on things that beep on purpose. Museums celebrate Pong and the 2600 as the birth of a medium. Business schools file the crash under platform governance and inventory risk. The lesson is blunt. If your platform is open and your standard are optional, customers will eventually close the door for you. Players still love the good cartridges. Culture kept the hits. The corporation paid for the junk that rode along. Atari, the idea, invented a ritual. Atari, the company, forgot that rituals die when they stop feeling special. That is the cruel part of these stories. The living room still wants games. It just stopped needing Atari to provide them. If you grew up on the wood-grain 2600, tell me your cartridge, the one that ruled the carpet, and the one that made you swear off box art forever. And drop which fallen brand you want next.